So I was scrolling through social media this week while I was having my morning coffee, and I came across a really, really interesting article on LinkedIn. And it was posted by a young Albanian journalist called zhgënjeu. It was posted in one of the UK's most read newspapers. And it was interesting because it portrayed a perspective and an opinion that I think many people in Albania are not aware of. Now, Gazim left Albania to go and study and live and work in the UK. And he's written very openly and very honestly about what he thinks about the entire process and even what he might have done differently. Gazim, welcome to Inside Albania. It's a pleasure to meet you, albeit virtually.
Hi, Alice. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's really nice to be here as well.
Now, let's get straight to it. I came across your article published in the Metro. For those that don't know, the Metro is very well-known media in the UK. It's published throughout the entire country. Now, your article took me by surprise because I've always suspected that many people, many Albanians that go to the UK, I've always suspected that life is not as nice as they make it out to be. I am from the UK. I left 17 years ago. I have no intention of ever living there again for many reasons. The weather, the food, the cost of living, security, like personal security on the streets, there are many reasons why I would not choose to live there with my family. But, you hear of so many Albanians going there and, you can make lots of money and it's great. And you see these pictures on Instagram, but I always suspect that it's not the whole story. And reading your article was really refreshing to see this brutal honesty and a reflection of some of the things that I've said about life in the UK as well. And I also think it was very important for people to see this as well, to see that life is not particularly always greener on the other side and that this promised land of opportunities it's not really so black and white. But I've just talked a lot there without sort of giving you a chance to explain. So can you explain for our listeners? I mean, you're from Albania, but where are you from exactly? What were you doing in Albania? How did you end up in the UK?
So currently, I'm a freelance journalist based in London, and I was born and raised in Kukës, Albania. And I moved to London a year ago to start my master's studies at City University of London in digital and social journalism. And I came here in the UK through a student visa, which is the way that I applied for, is like, let's say, a legal way of coming in the UK. Mm-hmm. And the first purpose is like doing my master's studies in one of the best universities in the UK, and especially for journalism. And that's what I mentioned so in the Metro, that I always knew that, for the education, London is going to be a big opportunity for me. And to have that education in the UK means a lot for me. So that's how I initially came to the UK and started like my life here.
So you had this, you got a place there, which is very well done. And you're right, in the UK, if you want to work in the English-speaking world, it does have the best, some of the best educational facilities. And to be in London as well is such a good place to get your foot in the door. Very competitive, but a great place to start. Now, I understand this whole process. So visa, paying your tuition, this is not cheap, is it? It's expensive.
Yeah, as you said before, because you lived here in the UK and you know the cost of living crisis, and probably better than me in this case. And I think about the tuition fees, it's expensive, and I think it's more and more expensive also for people that are born and raised here in the UK. Mm-hmm. And let's say like for countries like low-income countries like Albania, it's even expensive. But one of the things that it's a sacrifice, like financial sacrifice, family sacrifice behind that, because we know the opportunities that we don't have in Albania, and we try to kind of do everything we want for the education. And sometimes we have to get a loan, as in my case, for example, which my brother helped me in Italy to get a loan and to start my master's studies. And for international students, it's more expensive than for home students, which means that we have to pay double more fees in the universities to study here. But as I mentioned before, it's a sacrifice for the best, and for always with a thought that it's gonna be a better future when you come here compared to Albania.
Now, this is all very well and true, but in your article, you use the word, and it's quite a strong word, disappointed. It seems that life was not exactly what you expected in the UK. I've read the article, but for those that haven't, can you explain what the challenges have been since you got there? What has left you disappointed? What has not met your expectations?
So when I first saw pitched that article for the Metro, and to be honest, I didn't think that it's gonna have kind of interest for them to be published, but I knew that there was kind of let's say I kind of noticed that nobody was speaking about that, and and I thought, why not to write an article about this? So I use the word disappointed because there was a moment when I was like doing a job hunting and trying to understand how the media industry works in the UK. And I found quite difficult because every time applying for jobs, even though of a good experience that I had, and was like really hard to get into the industry. And I had like a disappointment. I can't say like, I felt like it was not easier as I expected to be. And I thought like, why not write an article about that? And then, to be honest, after I wrote that article, because it was published a bit later, as the reason for that was the riots in the UK, which was a bit dangerous to publish at that time.
Yes.
And then I think after I wrote this article, I started a work shift at Talk TV. So things started to change a little bit for me. So from that disappointment, I started to kind of, to get into the industry and to start and feel myself better. And as I said in the article, so I had sometimes to work in the construction industry, because life here is very expensive and trying to manage, like, especially my spendings, not too much. So I had to sort of like work in other jobs that in Albania I would never think about that, because in Albania I always used to work as a journalist, used to work for some international NGOs. So like never thought it's never thought I'm gonna end up working in construction. And I think the reality here, because that's the message I wanted to kind of say to other people, not only Albanians, but also for other nationalities that would like to come and, maybe legally. I just want to say to them that it's not that easy here. So in every country that you go, you have to work and you have to struggle. You have to pay taxes. You have to pay the rent, which in the UK, there is a crisis of renting as well.
Yes.
And, the prices are going up and up every year. And, the wages, they are, compared to Albania, they are better. But you have, on the one hand, you get more. On the other hand, you spend more. So it's like...
This is the thing. If you're living 50, in London, your rent is, I don't know how much you pay, but I would imagine it's between 700, 1,000, 1,000 pounds a month. I mean, depending on your situation.
So I currently live in the zone 6 of London, which is in South London, and is the borough of Croydon. You may have heard about it.
I have. I believe it's the most dangerous area of London to live in.
Yeah, there is a lot of Albanian community, like it's in North London, for example, because I've been in North London, I've been in Woodgreen and all that areas around where there's a lot of Albanian community. And especially, it's a bit cheaper to live in Croydon, because I pay, like, let's say 1,400 per month, which is a one-bed flat. It's not, that big. Compared with my big home in Albania, was like...
So 1,400 of your salary goes directly just to rent, just to have a roof over your head.
Without including taxes and without including,
council
other
tax
bills like electricity.
Yeah, electric, gas.
Taxes, and especially if you live in the borough of Croydon, which is, let's say, it's kind of a poor borough of London, because there is also the council is facing a bankrupt, and all the situation is affecting people, and they are trying to increase everything, including the council tax, to kind of recover the situation that they currently have. With their council.
You're living in zone 6, so to travel, you're looking at £5, £6, £7 a day. I would imagine for transport as well. You have food, which is expensive. If you're self-employed, you have to pay. If you're freelance, you have to pay for your own equipment, your own internet, your own. These are all things that add up. In Croydon as well, and in the rest of London, what about personal security? I mean, coming from Albania, where, I mean, I rarely give personal security a second thought when I'm in public at night, walking around, you know, it's not something that I worry about, you know. How does that differ with the situation living in London?
I think before coming to Albania, I thought Albania is really bad in the crime situation. And then I came here and I saw, like, you know, there is no day in the news that you can say people are stabbing in the road, and, you know, a lot of, especially young people, crime is really high. And in Croydon, to be honest, I can say during the all night, sometimes you feel like kind of, because, you know, Croydon has that bad reputation, but sometimes you feel a bit of scared because something may happen to you. But I didn't have any situation at all, like where I faced danger of, like, you know, somebody like doing something against me, or like. And I think also as an Albanian in general, I've met a lot of people, and some people say that Albania, you know, it's a good country because some people have visited them. And, you know, maybe they prejudge us, I don't know, but they never say it directly to me, like. Maybe they prejudge us because they think that Albanians are more working illegal things rather than, because it's very surprising to them when I say to them that I'm a journalist here, I did my master's studies here, and they say to me that, well, I know that Albanians are good in construction, but I don't know that Albanians are
distribution
good in journalism. Because they think that we are more based in, like, let's say,
they're prejudiced. They don't understand, you know, people are educated, people are intellectual in Albania as well. It's not just Northern Europe. What would you say to other Albanians who, and I have two sort of questions in one here, Albanians who are considering making the trip illegally, and people who are considering maybe following a similar path to you, following the correct procedures to go and live there? Is it really worth it? Or is it better to maybe stay behind and invest more energy in success here?
Yeah, that's my question that I made in the article as well. Is it really worth it? So, and I think, yeah, about people who are traveling illegally, I think, you know, for them especially, it's not worth it, because we are seeing now, because I think a week ago there was a news on the media about people that were dead crossing the channel from France to the UK. So I think it's, you know, if you make that travel, you're gonna be, the situation is not very good, and you would be threatened with your life and etc. And I think definitely not, because I know many people, many relatives who came here by, you know, small boats, or also France from Kukës, because that's where the, you know, most of illegal migration is coming from. Like, we are a source of illegal migration. And I know some of them who have left the UK. So they came here for that, you know, that better future. And then when they came here, they saw it like firsthand that it's very difficult here.
Yes.
And maybe perhaps they stayed 1 or 2 years, and then they went back. And I think people are starting to realize that even those who came here in legal boats, and they are starting to realize that it's not that good option, and they are coming back into Albania. And I think definitely maybe try something in Albania rather than coming illegally here. For people that want to come, people that want to come here and study for, let's say, coming in a legal way, I would say, like, you know, it's worth coming and it's worth seeing, because you get that experience and you try to understand what's good in Albania and what's bad in Albania. And, you know, because sometimes when we are in Albania, we try to see things like only in a negative way. And I think if you have this life experience, you come 1 year, 2 years, and maybe you can go back in Albania and see things in a different way, which may improve your things and your life as well. And I think, for studying, I would definitely recommend it, but it's very expensive. So I think, if you have, because I had my family support in the financial situation that I had, and, you know, I also work by myself, so I saved something, but you have to understand that you need a lot of money to come here in the UK. And I think perhaps not too much Albanians, because we know our economy. I think not too much Albanians could afford to come and study here with the amount of fees that they have to pay.
And just my last question, a short question. Are you going to come back?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. So before I wrote that article, I had not applied for my graduate visa, which is a route in here in the UK. Like, if you finish your studies, you apply for that. and you stay for 2 other years, which means that in
Work
2 years you have the right to work full time, which with the student visa you don't have the right to work full time. You can work part time, 20 hours per week. And at the moment that we are speaking together, so I have received my graduate visa, my graduate visa is now approved, and I will stay for 2 other years here because I really want there is that disappointment, but I think I'm just trying to go step by step and trying to break into the media industry. Because let's be honest, it's very difficult to get into the media industry for a lot of reasons. The first is like, even though you came here with a student visa, you finished the university in the UK, very well-known university.
Yes.
You are also considered you have this, visa restrictions, and you are also considered as a migrant, as a foreigner. So, and the competition is really high because you have other people from the UK who will apply for the same jobs as you apply. So there's a lot of competition. But I think I believe strongly in myself and my skills as well.
Yes.
And when I got my first job here in the UK for Talk TV, and I said to them, it's really difficult. I found it really difficult, but thanks for opening the door for me. And that's what they said to me. You have to knock to every door until the door opens for you.
It's really hard.
Yeah, I think definitely.
Even for
Definitely, I will try for 2 years.
For British people, the media industry and the fashion industry, law in sort of high-ranking law firms, they're very well known for. They don't assess you on your skills, on whatever. They look at what school you went to, what university you went to, what sort of networks that you are maybe a part of because of that, and they will always favour sort of the top tier of universities. It's a very class-based system in many ways. And it is not so often. It's also based on who you know. So we're not so different from Albania in that respect. These are traditionally very, very hard and also very competitive industries to break into. But Gazim, thank you for sharing your story, and I wish you luck in whatever you decide to do next.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure to be in the program.